Hello everyone and welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to go over how to make pants slash shoes for FiveM. Specifically what I'm going to be focusing on explaining here is how to get skin color to show and move correctly and also adapt to the different skin colors of characters for FiveM. I want to state really quickly that the tools I will be using are the same as in my other video here, this one about custom clothes. It's really important that you watch that video first. I kind of need you to have that baggage, I almost want to say, to understand what I'm doing. And yeah, thank you guys so much for the support, by the way, on the other video, as well as everyone who has come by on my Discord. We've created a nice little community there of people who help each other out. So feel free to join, ask some questions. It's very important to be polite though, you know, not that we've had any issues with that, but you know. So yeah, I'll include a link to that. That's also where in my first video, I described that I would have a folder with like specific files. That's where you'd find that. I didn't really think about where I was going to put it when I said that in the video. So yeah. Yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to show you how to get the mesh from GTA 5 that we're going to be working with today, because it seems to me that that was something a lot of people kind of got stunted on. You know, they don't really know how to get these meshes. I don't exactly remember if I explained it or if I just said that you just had to look it up. It is really simple. Basically, what you need is CodeWalker. To get CodeWalker, you do need to join a specific Discord. There's many videos out there on how to get it, so I'm not going to go over that too much. And what I basically always just do is I already know the name of the mesh I want, so understand that. But I just go up here and I search up, for example, if I'm looking for shoes, I type in feet like a fucking creep, you know? But what I want is this specific mesh, and there's only a couple with it. So I'm just going to click on these and test out and see. So these are not the ones. These are actually a pair of boots I actually made. These are the ones I want, okay? So I have that. So I right click and I go on open file location, scroll down, actually there we go, organize by type, and I find the feet again, not teeth, where are the feet? Great, now that there's just an audio clip of me just saying feet. That's lovely. No. 14, sorry, not 4. There we go. These ones. Yeah. So you right click again and make sure you have edit mode on. And then you go export XML and you export this to a location that you want it in. I already have it, so I'm not gonna just make a folder and export it into that. And then what you also will want to grab is what is it? Right. One of the texture files. Again, I already have this, but you would do the same thing, export XML and put it into a specific folder. That's basically it. I also recommend that you export the default, in this case, female, but also male if you need it, you know, if you're doing a male pair of shoes. Feet, because, not feet, sorry, legs, because you want them to, you want to be able to see how they move in Blender. We'll go, Jesus, hiccups, sorry. We'll go over all of that. So yeah. Okay, so I have here my folder where I already have this set up. One important thing is you will not have this specific file in the folder already. You need to export this yourself. Look up mpf _f free mode _01 and then find the one that's called YFT and export that. You're gonna need that for anything that you import into Blender that has that's a female mesh. Same for male, it would just be mp _f _m blah blah blah. You will want that to be in every single folder that you export, basically. It's part of the import process for Blender. The best way I can explain it is if you do not have this, then your mesh that you import into Blender will not have any weights, which means it will not have animation later on. So that's why we need that. It's really, really important. I saw a lot of people also struggle with that, so that's why I'm mentioning it again. Again, if you can't find these files yourself, I hate to be the person who advertises Discord, but that's where we can the easiest hand you those files and help you out. Yeah. Okay? Awesome. With all of that out of the way, let's get started on our process. I've already exported the files I wanted. I think I go over that in my old video, don't I? Sims 4. Yeah, I go over how to export things from Sims 4. So I'm not going to do that again today. I can really just reiterate the thing I said last time. Please make sure these people whose meshes you are using have given you permission or whatever. It's a moral decision, really. If you do work with meshes that you do not have permission to convert, you could get in legal trouble. I mean, that's somebody's copyright, and you can't just operate under the the idea that, oh well, they'll never find out, because that's stupid. Okay, people will know. So yeah, that's a little bit of a legal talk or whatever. Don't matter. Let's get on importing. So to import your mesh, you need to have Sollumz installed, as I talked about last time. I actually think I need to update mine now that I think about it, but I mean, it's working, so who cares? Go to import CodeWalker XML. Find the folder where you had the heels exported to. I have mine here. And very important, remember that you need to have import external skeleton ticked on. I never really bother with messing with the rest of it. I don't really have any issues, but I mean, yeah. And here are the shoes. Okay. So obviously, we only need the feet, which, hold on. Another thing you can do, instead of going in and manually setting up the textures, just go on external data, find missing files, and then find the folder where you exported everything to, this one for me, and then press find missing files and it'll find it for you, which is really nice. It might give you a little error down here, but that doesn't really matter. I'm going to hide the skeleton for now. And so we've got that set up. And next we will want to deal with our, hold on, I just want to save this really quickly. I think we are going to do, hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, I just wasn't sure what I was going to name it. So we've got that set up and we have saved it. That's all good. Let us get to our blend file. So I already have these assets ready to go. I just need to quickly do some light editing. When you open up a Sims 4 exported mesh, this is what it looks like. I delete all the lamps. I go into the rig here and I delete everything from top to bottom. Then I just press A to select everything, and then I go export, export FBX, and then I press export FBX, whatever. And then I go back to my shoes, import FBX, and I find where my assets are. And there we go. There they are. If that was too fast for you, I go over the same process in my other video, as I said. I expect you to know how this basically works. Yeah. So for these shoes, first things first, actually, let me move this up a bit so we have a better room to play with. The first thing you'll want to do is you want to get rid of the Sims 4 feet, because we don't like those. So I just go here and I have X-ray mode on and I manually select them. Be very careful not to accidentally select parts of the sole of the shoe like I just did there. Which I keep doing. Actually, let's do it the reverse way. Let's select the shoe and just hide as much of the shoe as we can, because then we are better off with deleting the feet. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. But yeah. Another good way, hold on, to make that process a little bit easier is to go into shading, go under texture, image texture, hook that up to the base color, like so, and then find a texture for that foot, I almost said, for that pair of shoes, because then the Sims 4 mesh is just going to be black, which makes it a lot easier for you to know what is shoe and what is feet. Good God. 'Tis a long and involved process. Rome wasn't built in a day, you know? There we go. Okay. Oh, I did not mean to hide it. I meant to select it. I'm just pressing L, by the way, because that's... I forgot what L actually... Select linked is what it's called. Select linked. Okay. So I'm going to do something now that might shock some people, but I'm actually just going to delete this mesh over here. And that is because in Blender, you have the ability to do something called... Okay, I figured out what the problem was. I was in edit mode. You're supposed to be in object mode for this part. So you go on mirror and then you go X local. And now you have mirrored the shoe. I will say, so this is something we'll go over later, but there's a lot of finessing you kind of need to do. But I have found that this is the best way to make it so that the weights and everything is the exact same on each side of the foot. Why did I say foot like that? Foot. Anyway. Yeah, so that's the kind of the premise we'll be working with today, as well as talking about the feet itself. So, yeah. Okay, so we have deleted that. Okay, perfect. So the foot is now just a foot. The shoe is now just the shoe itself and nothing else. So let's move it back down and roughly align the height with the height of the high heel. You can go lower. Personally, this is just how I do it. I don't like to make the shoes too high because I find that messes with the shoe a little bit. Okay. Let me just go here and hide this real quick, because what I want to do now is I want to do the same thing again. I'm going to delete this side of the foot, and I want to only have the foot selected here. Make sure we hide. So yeah, that's everything. And then just A and, you know, delete it all and bring this back. I'm going to save real quick. Okay, so we've got our little piggies here. I'm going to go ahead and import those legs I talked about. And they're basically the panty model. Or it's not panties, it's like swimwear, but whatever. And I'm just going to do the same thing for aesthetics that I did earlier and find missing texture. There we go. All right, lovely. Absolutely lovely. Okay, this is just for later on in the process, but I'm going to do it now because otherwise I'll forget to mention it. Okay. So let's continue with our editing. I really like to use pose mode, edit mode, and sculpt mode to do this. So first things first, I'm seeing here, we're going to move these down a little bit more. And for pose mode, I like to use scale. Make these a bit longer like so. And then move these over. And again, in pose mode, just make them a bit wider, just a bit. Ugh, there we go. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Okay. So that's almost the only thing I need pose mode for. So after I've done that, I just go in to the mesh here, out of pose mode. I click on the little blue wrench. I go apply, and then I right click on the mesh, parent, clear, and keep transformation. You could just do Alt P, but you know, I'll need to explain everything. So yeah. And again, I save. Okay. So now is usually when I would go into edit mode. And again, I've had some people tell me, oh, you go too fast when talking about the sculpting and the editing. The reality is that's not really something I can teach. Well, I can. I can talk about proportional editing. I can talk about the scale tool and the rotate tool, all of these things. But that's more about learning Blender. That's less about learning how to do this for FiveM, if that makes sense. See it kind of like I'm not going to be able to sit here and teach you how to do this for the program, I guess. It's more the process I'm explaining. It's the workflow that I'm explaining, not how to become a Blender master. Here, go make the donut sort of tutorial, you know? And that's because when I do sit there and explain it, that's how you end up with videos that are an hour and 20 minutes long, which makes a lot of people go, good God, I can't learn this possibly, but you can. So if you have issues with me going too fast with the editing and the sculpting, please slow the video down. Maybe you can see what I'm doing, but at the end of the day, it's mostly about feeling it out yourself. And I wish you luck. Please do not hesitate to come and ask questions. I'm willing to help, but I can't teach you how to blend. Okay. Engage time lapse. Thank you. Okay, so I finished that, and I just realized this shoe might not have been the best example to use because I was going to go into how we can form the feet to fit the shoe, but I realized the shoe is actually kind of perfect for that. So we're going to take a halfway mark, boom. If you just care about getting, like if your shoe already looks perfect right now, if you're following along and whatever you have done, if it already looks like perfect and it fits this specific model, you can take a break here and come back in like 10 minutes. I'll probably, if I'm smart enough, I'll include a timestamp. Maybe I won't, we'll see. But yeah, I'm going to show an example of a pair of shoes that I've been working on where I had to deform the feet to fit into the shoe. So let's go into that. Okay, so this is a type of like open-toed kitten heels is what I've been calling it, where I had to do quite a lot of deforming of the foot to kind of get that high heel arch that we all know. I'm just gonna import the legs back into this so it's a little bit easier to see. I'm also going to import the same shoes that we had in the other video, which are the ones I use for these, which are the sandal heels, to show. Okay, so it's pretty obvious here. If we put on X-ray mode, maybe it's a little bit easier to see then. No, okay, that sucks. Hold on a minute. Guess I have to go edit mode for that? No. Oh, sorry, you can't really x-ray something like that. Okay. Jesus, this is hard to show. Hold on. Okay. Anyway, you can kind of see here how this pair of shoes is way more the foot is kind of longer is what I want to say. It's kind of longer, and the arch here is a bit like wider, so I had to basically go in and edit this pair of feet to match the shoe that I had. The way I did that was basically I formed this shoe. Let's see if I actually have I think I have like an older. Good God, that's ugly. Do I have like a halfway mark? Yeah. So this is what I started off with, right? I had already formed the shoe into roughly the shape I wanted it to be. Not at this point, but I believe at this point. And I just started slowly, sort of like Cinderella, you know, Cinderella's stepsisters. I was just kind of like, just tugging in, like, oh, let's make that heel, like, let's make that a little bit shorter. And like, I kind of compressed it. You can see that a lot better on this preview. So, for example, if you look at this from above, Jesus, you can see that I also, this part I pushed in quite a bit, and as I said, this heel of it. But the way you do it is, let me just showcase that. So I have both the legs here and the feet, right? So we do the same thing we did earlier. Good God. I apologize. I know my explanations can be a little bit convoluted, but you know what? You'll get what you get. Okay, I'm just an idiot. Let me do it. Okay, let me show what I'm trying to do. Okay, so I delete the shoe and I go on X-ray mode, right? Proportional editing. I put it on sphere as far as I remember, but you can put it on whatever feels right. And I just grab parts of the shoe and I have this grabbed, right? And I use G to then roll this out a little bit, and then I just tuck it in just ever so slightly. Now, what you can see up here though, is I don't have the leg and the feet mesh connected. And it's very important you don't do that, because otherwise you kind of think, oh, no, when you're testing that movement later, oh no, the legs are and these shoes are working just fine. But the reality is you'll end up with like this part specifically here tearing. And here's the truth about making the like shoes like these. It's always, not always, but it's very likely you'll still deal with a small tiny tear there. It's really hard to get it not to do that. But in general, what you want to avoid is like a big open space, you know, like a very obvious one. And that's kind of what we're trying to avoid. Anyway, back to what I was doing. So I was just kind of moving this inwards, and I was like taking this and lowering, etc., etc. That's basically what you do. But what you can see that I just did here is by moving this inward quite a lot, actually, I was moving these ones here. And that's kind of when you then end up with the tearing. And the one way I found that was really good to avoid that problem is basically joining these two together and then going in. If I had like a really big tear here, going in and manually using Vertex snap, so putting on this tool, disable your proportional editing, using Vertex snap feature and then set it to Vertex and then tweak and then manually grabbing these, oh my God, the vertex of the heel, I guess you can call it, and snapping it back in place like this. That's kind of the best way I found to do it. These sort of things are very hard to explain. I do apologize if that doesn't make sense, but the general concept is you want this row, if I can go back real quick, hold on, to before these two are joined together. You want all these vertex here I guess here might be a good example. Yeah, let me do that. Sorry. You want all of these vertex to snap in place to this one, to the leg. Like so. And it's gonna look a bit awkward and you're gonna have to do a lot of finicking, but that's basically how I did it. I wish I could explain this a little bit better, but experiencing for yourself and trying out for yourself is always going to be a lot easier. Yeah. I will say, in my experience, when I already have formed a shoe like this, and then I start testing, and then, let's see here, for example, let's put this over here real quick. And then let's just test out the animation, right? So I go into pose mode, and as you can see, there's no real tearing here, right? But if there was, if like, let's say this ankle was stopping here, that means there's a problem with the weight or there's a problem with the alignment of the vertices, right? When I have that, if I feel like I don't know what's wrong with it, I cannot see what's wrong with it, I will literally start over. And that might seem like, what? Why in the world? I've worked so hard on this. Like, I spent so much time on it. But first of all, when I say start over, I mean more so start over in the sense of remove the ankles. Or I keep calling this ankle. The foot itself instead of removing the shoes. And then try that again. Because in reality, you're going to spend more time trying to fix this than if you just started over and did it again. That's at least what I found. So yeah, there's no point beating a dead horse, as they say, right? That's my recommendation for that. So yeah, let's move back to the other shoe. Okay, so that little detour is now over. I wish I could explain it better. But I guess I can't. So whatever, let's just continue where we are. So obviously we've got our both our feet and our shoe mesh. So first thing I'm just gonna do is we're gonna prepare the shoe mesh. So we're gonna start off by clearing all groups and renaming the UV maps as always. Okay. Delete the old color attributes and let's just rename it to shoe. Shoop-a-doop. Here we go again. Okay, so are we ready to move on to that process? Yes, I would say we are. What we're gonna do now is we are going to weigh this shoe foot. We're gonna go and we're gonna look for a specific pair of shoes. There's a wedge heel in GTA 5, so I'm gonna use that. Let me go and find it. I'll be right back. Thank you, by the way, to whoever showed me that you don't have to use that old website anymore that wasn't getting updated. You can just use plebmasters.de. They have like on the game data, a section where you can basically look up any of the different, game data objects. Yeah, so you can just have a browse for a mesh that roughly fits the style of your mesh. Okay, and here we are. Found it. These are wedge heels. So what I do is copy DLC location name, look it up on CodeWalker, and then it should be in one of these folders. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. And just checking the other one. Yeah. So these are the ones we want. Turn on edit mode. And then export to any given location that suits you. Okay. So we're back here. I have set up my folder. And we've got the wedge heels. I'm going to import those. I'm just going to, for convenience sake, I'm going to delete that. Okay. So two things we want. We want this to only go onto the, hold on, let me hide this. We only want it to go onto the the heels. We do not want it to touch the feet. Why? Because the feet are already, they're perfect. They're perfectly weighed. Okay, so we only want this to put anything onto this, right? So we're gonna do that. Hold down Shift, join, no, not join, sorry. Just hold down Shift and then select the two different ones. Go on weights, transfer weights, open this little thing up, and then source active layer, set that to by name. There you go. That's it. Okay. Now this thing has weights. I am noticing some tearing here, right? So like there's a very sudden change. This is because this is not properly linked together, as you can see. So what I'm actually going to do is we're going to start that over. We're going to delete all groups. And before we go in and weigh it, I'm going to go edit mode. It's very important to save before you do that. I just saved, and then I'm going to go save incremental, because when you do what I'm about to do, it can sometimes distort the mesh or make it look kind of weird. So it's good to have a backup. So I go up and I go in edit mode, I select everything, and I go merge by distance. This removes some vertices. And when I turn this on without the shading, you can see there's some weird distortion now. Usually this can be fixed by just pressing clear custom split normals, which it did here. Sometimes it won't fix it. And in those cases, it takes a little bit more finicky work. If it's really, really bad, I would just keep the custom split normals. But if it's okay, then, you know, you can go in and edit it. You can try your best to fix it. But at the end of the day, once you slap textures on it, it's kind of hard to see. But I'm a bit of a perfectionist, you know, so quick. Okay, so we weight transfer again, right, by name, all that good stuff. And let's just hide it this time instead of deleting it. I actually need that anyway, so I don't know why I hid it. And we're just going to, again, delete the ones that have L on them, because those are for the left foot. I will explain how to get weights on the left foot. Don't worry, we'll get there. What we're going to do now is we're again going to go into weight paint, and we're just going to check here. So there's still some light distortion, but it's a lot better than before. And again, we're going to go in and smooth it. Maybe reduce the iterations a little bit, like so, and all groups, right? So that looks nice and easy. Sometimes I still like to go in with the blur tool, and I just like to blur it a little bit, but I don't want to do that here because I trust that this will look good. Okay, so we have all of that now. I'm going to save again. And we have all our weights for this one. What we want to do real quick for this foot is we want to go in, and again we want to delete the ones that have L for left. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to now duplicate. Where's my D? There we go. Duplicate this foot, right? So we've got two different feet now. Yeah, we've got two different feet here. Yes, perfect. And this one's going to be our left foot. And the first thing we do is we rename the weights on the copied foot so that the ones that have R are now left foot. Like so. Okay. And then we right click, mirror, boom. When we now select these, it should move correctly. And it does. Perfect. Got literally the most symmetrical feet you could ever ask for in your life. God, I wish this was a real life hack. My feet are symmetrical. I don't know why I said that. Oh my God. Okay. But obviously you want these feet to be 1 foot, right? So you combine them. And, oh God, what has happened? Why does it look like that now? Well, if you go into face orientation, you'll see that once you join these together, the faces of the left foot are going to be all red. That means that if you try to import this now, it would be like inside out. The only thing you really need to do is go in and then flip the materials like so. Boom. there's still some like, oh, why does it look like that, right? I don't know is my first answer, and I don't really care is my second answer. But the thing I usually do to fix it is that I go in and I believe I usually merge like so, and then they look perfect like that. Okay? Sorry, my cat just ran away. He was very scared. Yeah. So now we've got our symmetrical feet. Again, just gonna test. Weights still work and everything's fine. Yeah. Okay. And now with the shoe, I'm going to join the shoe to the skeleton, and I'm going to add a modifier, I believe a deform modifier, and we're going to add this on here, and I'm just going to test how the weights are. And you can see they look really good, right? So we're going to do the same thing we did for the foot, and we're going to duplicate, and then we're going to change the names of the weights like so. I keep pressing A, the Danish A. We do not want that right now. And there we go. Okay. And then we mirror. Oops. Oh, if you have an issue with it not mirroring correctly, just apply all transforms and rotation and scale. That should fix it. Yeah, there we go. It's basically because the mesh is still like, oh, my mirror side is right here. You need to basically update it on the fact that, no, your mirror side is over here now because you have moved it since then. I don't know how it works, but I know that fixes it. So now you know. So you're welcome. All right. So again, let's test that everything is moving correctly. Yeah, perfect. These are so cute. I love these. Okay. And then we just join them together. And now you've got cute little pair of heels. And then you again have the same issue that you had before, where these are now all red. So you again just go in, select all, and flip like so. And then you need to, I'm just going to add custom split normals actually. Yeah, these looks perfect. These looks perfect. Yes, I speak very good English, as you can hear. Okay, so last thing we will need to do is now we need to add these two together and make textures. So let's get on that. Okay, I was just taking a little picture of this because I thought they were so cute. Anyway, so we're moving on to textures now. The most important thing to know about shoe textures, as well as pant textures, and this is specifically pants where you intend to include like the ankle, because you know the pants are up to a certain length, and that is you need to make sure that your texture size is only 512 by 512, I believe. In general, and I'm gonna cast some shade right now, okay? I'm gonna be a little bit shady. Please, for the love of God, stop making your textures like 5K textures or 2K textures. GTA 5 was released in 2013. High-res textures like that, not only do they put a lot of strain on servers, but these are clothes. They do not need to be super high definition. And also, it's kind of like a waste. It's not gonna really change a lot about how a piece of clothing looks. I will say, so for some projects, the 512 by 512 can be really annoying. For example, I'm working on a pair of male underwear, and when I use a texture that has a pattern on it, you can kind of see how that low resness is kind of like, you can see it, and that's really annoying. But at the end of the day, it's not going to improve by you making your texture bigger. there might be a small improvement, but you're sacrificing basically stability on a server as well as performance. So it's best not to do it. 512 by 512, please stick with it. Thank you. So let's get moving. Okay, so textures. The very first thing you want to do is, remember how we used the sandal heels for, the sandal heels, yes, as the feet, basically. So we want to go in and find the sandal heels diffuse texture, which I've got here. And basically, all I do is I go in and I take this part and I paint it black, like so. And this is now going to be the texture we work with. Image size, you can see this is 256 by 256. I could make this 512 by 512, but because, hey, GTA 5 made it 256 by 256, I'm just going to guess there was a reason for that. I have very rarely had a texture look really bad because of the fact that I kept it the same size. So I'm just going to keep it that same size. Yeah. And the normal map here, you can see is also 256 by 256. I repeat the same step. Roughly find where it cuts off and starts doing a normal map for this, and I just delete it. Now, you might think, well, why don't we just generate our own new normal map? The reason why I do not do that is because I find that if I generate my own normal map, the feet are just going to look really odd together with the legs, basically. It is going to be a noticeable difference in the normal map. So I like to just keep the original. You're actually going to find that also the specular is 128 by 128, but here's the thing. As I said before, the how do I say this? GTA 5 was released in 2013, and the specular, or the shading of different objects, is really as simple as, is this skin? No? Okay. Is this supposed to shine? No? Okay. That's basically it. But for now, we're painting this black as well. Okay. So let me find, here we go. This is our texture we're working with. So I'm going to go find our Dallas Girls. Shout out to Dallas Girls, by the way, who has permissions, open. Not open, but like if you do not, profit off of her creations, she allows you to convert them. And I swear to God, if I ever find out anybody is not following somebody's terms of use, I'm going to put their head on a spike. That was a little bit dramatic. I'm not going to do that, but still. Because we're making this texture a lot smaller, normally I would just go wham, bam, would take it out, and that's it, right? But I have found doing that, when I then scale the texture down, it kind of looks a bit lower res than when I go in and I do these individually, like I take them out individually. So we're going to change the process a little bit. Normally I would do the texture first, and then I would align my UV map to it. Here I'm going to do my UV map first, and then align the two together. So I'm going to do it a little bit differently. Okay, so I'm just going to double check really quickly that the weights and all of that is good. We don't need these anymore. Don't need that anymore. Okay. This is fine. Yeah. UV maps. Yeah. Color. We don't need these right now. Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and join these two together. And before I do anything else, I just gotta make sure, yeah, face orientation is fine. All right, so now we're gonna go into UV editing. Oh Lord, let's have a look at that, huh? My bad, we have the wrong UV map selected. Oh, I was ready to call it quits there. I was like, what the hell? Yeah, always remember to have UV map 0 selected and not UV map 1. So we are going to start out with this one, right? I'm gonna have all this selected, and then Oh, it keeps switching over to that one. I don't want it to do that. Hold on. Okay. I'm just gonna I'm gonna select all of these, press A, take off proportional editing, and then move them down. This is just so we can easily edit them later. And then we're gonna switch over to feed diff here. I'm just gonna remove this material map. Yeah, go. We can be in edit mode. Yeah, I know. Okay. And then we're gonna press A again, so we have these added on. Perfect. Okay. So we're just going to be in this mode. Okay. And I'm going to select all of these and I'm going to move them up. Before I do that though, I would like to, just for better visualization, I am going to save this div as a sorry, hold on. Okay, cool. And I'm gonna save it as a Photoshop PSD just because you can load those up into Blender and they're a little bit easier in my opinion to work with while you are sort of figuring everything out. You know, yeah. Sorry. Whenever I'm thinking very hard, it's very hard to narrate. So I apologize. Okay, there we go. All right, so we have all of that sorted. So now we just gotta move these pieces individually into place. The easiest way to do this process, as I mentioned last time, is just expand it and then boom, right? I just find we still have a lot of space left behind when we do this. So this does require more work and a little bit more expertise when it comes to texture making, but this is my process and I'm just gonna try to impart it on you. One thing I'm gonna quickly say is the most common issues that people have that follow my tutorials, who on my Discord and all that, is people kind of taking shortcuts is what I'm going to call it. So, you know, skipping steps and not following everything to the T. And listen, I get it. When you're just trying to learn it, sometimes not doing everything just seems like a lot easier. But the reality of not doing everything means you're missing out on a chance to learn. And you're also setting yourself up for a higher likelihood of something going wrong, I almost want to say. Like, it's going to be, there's going to be a higher chance that you waste your own time because you spend so long trying to fix something that if you had followed each step, would have maybe succeeded, you know? And that's not always true, but I'm just talking kind of like generic here, you know? I'm just making sure I'm selecting the entire UV because this one had like one underneath it, and this is just the easiest way I found to make sure I have the entire thing grabbed. So I'm just moving these and resizing them so that I feel like we're taking up plenty of space because, as I said, this is a, what was it? 200 by something texture. Like, we want to make sure we use every single slot we have on this UV, because if we don't, well, that means the texture is actually, hold on, let me show you guys something. Okay, so on my Discord in the modding advice section, we have first of all, we have a tab here with with pinned messages, which includes the skeleton files as well as 2 blend files with a blank female body and a blank male body, and a tutorial someone made on how to make something glow. But we also have these things. So if you do not understand how textures work, this is the best example, right? Your textures are always going to look like the tin foil of a Christmas chocolate man, basically wrapped around your 3D model, right? So that's why your 3D like textures, especially like face textures, are always going to kind of look really odd, like a skin mask almost. And then the concept of a UV, right? So for example, if you have a texture that's 4K, so 496 by 4096, you need to use up the entire space But if you do not use up the entire space, like so, you have lower pixel density, and that makes this, even though you have this 4K big texture, it's still going to look like it's low res. That's basically what we're trying to avoid here. Okay, so I'm just going to continue quickly with resizing all of these so that they fit nice and snug. A good amount of space here. We could do more, but I think this is good enough. So let's save this. And now we're going to export our UV layout. It's going to name it UV. UV. Yes, yes, UV. And I'm gonna go find it, open it up. Bam, bam. And we're gonna delete this layer anyway. It's just so that we can get the overlap correct. There we go. So let's just do that again. Okay, perfect. All right, so then we resize it and plop it down where it needs to go. One good thing to do is when you have this, like, you can lower the layering a little bit so you can see it better. And then I just kind of like to do it like this. You can also make this bigger than the outline. There's really no harm in that. Yeah, it's a good way to avoid like any breaking. So yeah, making it a little bit bigger than it was originally, that's fine. What I am going to do, actually, what I just realized, so I picked a texture here with polka dot patterns, and it's really cute. But when I make my UVs, when I make my normal maps and my specular maps, always use a texture that does not have any, like use a just pure white, or like pure, like without a pattern. That was the word I was trying to think about, a pattern. A lot of these have patterns, so let me find one that doesn't. This one doesn't have a pattern. Fuck. Jesus. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Yep. So we're just going to continue to do this. And got it all done. Now, as I said, now we can delete this layer and boom. Oh God. Hey, it looks fine, okay? This is gonna look really nice, okay? Let me show you. Let me show you how nice this is gonna look. Trust me, trust the process. Look, isn't it cute? Yeah. So obviously we still have the specular and a normal map showing, which is why it looked like that. Anyway, once we have those made, it'll be just fine. So yeah, that's how I do it. But always make sure you save your PSD, oh sorry, your whatever Photoshop tool you're using. Because what you can do here is I'm going to separate this colored section here. There we go. From this texture, right? So yeah, don't yell at me. There we go. Ah, shit, hold on. How do I do this again? Like this? Okay, hold on. I'll figure it out. Oh, no, I'm stupid. Okay. Sorry. So I just copy. What the fuck am I doing? Okay. Copy paste it. Put it back where it came from. Jesus, that. No. Put it back where you got it. Okay. Make sure it's. Yeah, that's correct. And then I just, on this layer, get rid of this. Like so. And then on this other layer, we get rid of this. So the reason why we're doing this is because, first of all, that means I can make base colors variations of this one. So for example, let me just save. If I wanted, oh, I want this actually to be a white bow on this shoe, I can now do that really, really easily, right? So I save it. Actually, normally before you do what I just did, you would hold on, copy this layer first. So duplicate this layer and then hide this old one. And then you can black and white it and then adjust the brightness so that it's nice and bright and then save it. And then when I test it again here, it'll be white, right? So that's how you can very quickly, without having to deal with each one of these, you can make different color variations. And even though, yes, this now means you have to go in and cut these specific parts out when you want the pattern version, personally, it takes you like, what, 5 more minutes and it just looks better. And it's going to perform so much better than to have all of this open space. Okay. And in the span of me rambling on, I just finished another pattern. I save it. And then I can load it up in my blend file and look how pretty it is. Okay. So we have down now how to make different patterns. All right. So we've got our diffuse sorted basically now. Let's move on to how to make a normal map. So when I make my normal maps, as I said, I use the same normal map that they have in, that the actual original feet used. So what I have here, for example, is I'm going to be deleting these layers and then flatten everything and then save this as cork div and then no alpha. And then let me just close this because I just want to make sure that I'm not working on top of my Photoshop file. Yeah, I'm not. Wonderful. So let's open shoes, cork div. Okay. Yeah, open this up. And then NVIDIA tools, normal map filter. If you do not have something that makes normal map making really easy, like Materialize or normal map filter using Photoshop, there is nothing wrong with just having this normal map basically just be this color and like, you know, like that, it just means it's going to look incredibly flat. If you have no other way to do it, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world to just have it be a flat normal map. I don't do that, but you know, again, to each their own. But then I just copy it out and then I paste it on top of the original normal map, because then I have the normal map of the feet still remaining. And then I save it in my project folder. Really important. So normally I would like then just name this like cork normal. But the way I do it now is because not only will Dirty Cloth Tool like kind of throw an error at you, but I also find that sometimes it can cause issues with whether or not the game like recognizes your normal map, I found. So what I do now is I just call it feet normal 000. Okay, no alpha, pine. One more thing. I don't know if I did this in my other video, but just keep the blue channel completely white. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know why, but I have just found that that makes it so that it looks better and I don't have any issues. Yeah. So that's done. The normal map is done. So what we're going to do now is I can close this and this as well. Okay. So we're going to open back up that diffuse file like so. And we're going to black and white this part of the image. So black and white it. And then we're going to lower the brightness very, very much so. You basically want to almost barely be able to see it. And then we open up a new layer. And in this new layer, we go and we find this spec guide. I'm actually going to post this real quick in my modding Discord. Again, I think I included last time where you can originally find this, but it's an old document. It's all across the internet, so you should be able to find it. But yeah, just for easiness, I'll just put one in my modding Discord. So yeah, sorry. Anyway, so let's make this. I think I said these. Yeah. I hope no. Sorry, I'm just thinking about logic here. Suit shoes are kind of glossy. Jeez, I could not speak. So we're actually just going to use the shirt one because I find that that's the one that's the most like matte, like doesn't shine, doesn't look odd. You know, it's a very universal one. So I'm just going to use that one real quick. Check it on the layer and then overlay it. It's kind of dark, but that's what we want anyway. So merge that down. And then we cut it out and we put it, we put it on here like so. There you go. It might not be one-to-one the same, but it should be fine. So we merge down and then save. And we find the folder again. And this time it's a spec. Like so. All right. And that's it. That was how we made our textures. Yeah, let me put these on here so you can see a little bit better how this looks. So the way it looks in Blender is never going to be how it looks one-to-one in game, but already this looks a lot better, as you can see. Oh, shit. Sorry, I forgot one really important thing. I just did something very stupid. Okay, pause. I forgot the alpha. So we lost the alpha channel here. That's fine though. We can add it on back in. And if you don't know how your alpha is supposed to look, this is basically what determines whether or not the skin tone is going to be affected. Yeah, that's basically it, really. So let me show. So this is the alpha for the default shoes. I'm just gonna copy that and paste it on here. And then when we save, we save this as a spec. Yeah, it already exists, that's fine. And then make sure you save it as I always save it as an interloped alpha. I don't know if 1-bit alpha or explicit alpha would work better. If somebody knows that, please tell me. I don't know. That's just what I use. Okay, that's why the feet are kind of glossy here, I'm pretty sure. So it should be better now. Yeah, so now they're not as glossy. Again, you might go like, oh, well, that looks a little bit strange. There's a little bit of like a weird shadow. That's because this is in a Blender preview. It should look fine when we actually test it on the server or in Durty Cloth Tool. So yeah. Let me just see if I've missed anything. I don't think I have. Oh, I did forget about the color attributes. Let me do that again in just a second. I just want to see. Look fine. Yeah, all of this is fine. Okay, cool. So yeah, let us quickly do the color attributes. So for color attributes, what you want to do is you just go on Vertex Paint here. Then you go to Data, Color Attributes, delete this, and then type in color 0, color spelled the UK version. This is how I was taught it. I have no idea if that's not necessary anymore. And frankly, I'm too lazy to test if it's not necessary. So this is how I do it. Switch this to face corner and bite color, and then type in FF8000. And then the same thing again, color 1 this time. And this time go on hex 000 and turn the alpha down like so. And we want to do this before we make our LODs, because otherwise you have to do this for each individual LOD, and that's really annoying. This basically affects wind movement is the black one. If it's white, then it's gonna move a lot in the wind. If the orange one isn't orange, I think it like makes your mesh sweat or something like that. Next up, and the final step before I start testing, is we need to talk about okay, I'm having a problem right now where my Sollumz LODs are no longer showing up here, which is odd. But if you ever have that problem, here's a really good trick that I use to solve, like, I want to say 90% of all the problems I have ever run into while making meshes for FiveM, okay? So I load up the sandal heels, like so, okay? I grab them. I grab my shoes. Oh, actually, before I do anything, let me just delete all the groups of this shoes, the sandal heels vertex groups. I grab my shoe. I hold shift. I click on the other shoe. Control J. I join them together. Then I go into edit mode. And I select all of that. Delete it. And then delete that. Right? Okay. And then there they are, the Sollumz LODs. Listen, 99% of the time when you're having an issue with something, just joining a GTA mesh to your mesh and then joining your mesh to the GTA 5 mesh and then deleting the GTA 5 mesh, 99% of the time, that's what solves problems for me. So there's a little trick for you. You do have to delete these other colors now because they are not correct anymore, but that's fine. Okay, let's get on to making LODs. Before I do anything else, let me just make sure that my project has all the right textures, because we did delete something. So let me make sure that that is true. Actually, let me add my project folder over here because that's really annoying. Okay. Normal and specular. Okay, perfect. And make sure that the normal and the specular are always embedded. That's 100% necessary. Okay. So I'm going to delete the medium and the low, and then I'm going to copy my high res LOD, which is like long distance basically, and copy that over to medium first. I don't know, by the way, why. I don't know how to rename this so that it says medium, but it doesn't actually have an effect. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Anyway, so I go into edit mode now, and then I go and clean up, and I decimate geometry, and I set ratio to 0.1, and then that's fine, right? One thing you can do if, for example, you really, really want to be like super thorough, and that's usually what I do, is you can, for example, move these down a bit and then not down, forward. You can move things a little bit so it looks good, but honestly, I mean, it's very rare that anybody is going to see this. You can also just flip them if you want, but I don't like doing that because they're not supposed to be there. So I move these so that you can't really see them. This is basically because when you are lowering a mesh's quality, so to speak, you are, especially if it's two-faced. That sounds a little bit stupid maybe, but a mesh being two-faced is basically the concept of that mesh having like depth to it, I suppose you can say. So yeah, I like to just do that because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I did a good job. And I don't like to cut corners if I can avoid it. So there we go. Okay, so now we have the medium LOD. Yeah, it's kind of ugly, but I mean, hey man, you get, you know, it's supposed to be ugly. It's a low res mesh. God forbid, you know. Let me move this out a little bit. Okay, that looks fine. So now I do the same thing again. Copy the medium now to the low, and then I go back in and I mesh, clean up, decimate geometry, and then I set it to 0.1. Now for this lowest version, if there's like, you know, small pieces left, I just delete them if they're flowing. If anybody like ever sees this version of your mesh for like more than like a split second while in a distance, I mean, that's very, very unlikely. It's usually like if somebody's like watching somebody with binoculars or something. And yeah, you know? And sure enough, wow, those are feet. Good job. So now you have all your own custom LEDs. And you could leave those, you should never leave these empty, but what you could do is you could leave them as the GTA 5 ones. That way you know that your mesh is at least not too big. But I like to make my own because I like it. One little tidbit. So go up here and then press statistics, and then you can see up here how many polygons your mesh has. I think it's like faces or something. Anyway, never, or maybe it's edges. Who knows? Never have this go over 20k is basically my advice. It's useless. It's useless. It's just gonna make the mesh look really weird and move very strangely. Usually you see those big chains, those big chains that people have. Those are really high res, and then they just look odd and sparkle and look weird. So I recommend not. It's also performance wise really bad to have stuff like that. So yeah, that was it. That's the shoe. Let's go and test how it looks. Okay, so obviously I didn't make a texture dictionary for this one because I've shown how to do that in my other tutorial. And also I have Dirty Cloth Tool, so I like to just go in and just put my DDS in. That's fine. I read that as something very differently. Anyway, so we're now going to test how the mesh moves. Okay. Oh god, that was loud. Let's add on some pants. So this shininess you're seeing right now, sometimes that's just what happens. Other times it's evidence that something might be wrong with your mesh. Right now I'm willing to say maybe my specular is the wrong one. We'll check that in a second. But for now I'm just going to look at how it walks. So as you can see, it walks really beautifully. There's no tearing, you know, the feet isn't separating from the leg, and there's no funny stuff. So yeah, make sure you test this with as many animations as you can. I believe this is only for the Patreon supporters of the Durty tool who can use this. I think there's a free version of this tool out there. I don't really know. It's 10 euros a month. I only really buy it when I'm actively working on meshes. So, but it's a good tool. I really like to use it. Anyway, so this is the shoe. I think it looks really cute. So yay for that. Let me just double check that it exported my correct specular. Let's see here. So the way I can see that is when I exported it from Blender, which you do by press A, select everything. Make sure, by the way, you don't leave, I see a lot of times people leave other files in the Blender file. Don't do that. Make sure your blend file that you are exporting, it's fine to have that several have feet left over, or a body mod left over if you're still working on the mesh. But when you're exporting, it's best to just have the things in the file that you actually intend on exporting. So press A, export code walker, and then just find a folder, and then make sure this is toggled to high, very low, and that's the only thing I have on. And then I export. So in my folder now, I have this. These are the embedded files, and I can check these if they are correct. And yeah, that looks right. So the glossiness and the shininess, I mean, that's probably just because, again, you know, we're testing things. It should look fine in game. Should look fine. If it doesn't, whenever something looks glossy, it's 100% either Vertex color, Vertex paint, or a problem with your specular. So yeah, that was the shoe. Okay, so editing Drew here. Hello. Just finished. I was gonna make this video have 2 sections in it. I was gonna also talk about pants, but the video is already an hour and 20 minutes long. So I'm just not going to talk about pants because it's the same concept really, except you just have ankles. I'm going to make a very short video to follow up with that I'm also going to post about pants, but it's not going to be as in-depth as this. So in that video, I'll probably say to watch this video first. Okay, thank you guys for watching. I hope it helped. I think my shoes are really cute. I think I'm doing really well on shoes. So yeah, bye.